All right, guys, it's your boy Kexis back, and today I want to talk about Clair. I want to talk about Clair Obscur Exposition 33. Few things. Currently, as of recording, I'm only in the middle of Act 2. This is not a video really about spoilers. This video is me more or less talking about a conversation I had with a friend, and I just kind of wanted to see if anyone else had an opinion on it. So again, this is not really about spoiling the entire game. I haven't beat it yet. I plan to beat it, so bear with me. So, how did this conversation start? Well, me and my friend both were talking about the game. The game's really popular. Everyone's talking about the game. It's been out for a while now. A while, I guess, in terms of games. And yeah, we were having a conversation. And the conversation boiled down to, does the game have nuance? Yes or no? And truth be told, there really is no blanket answer for this. But I think our discussion was still a little interesting. And this is kind of how it unfolded. He was saying that he thought the story was mid. And when he said this, I assume he was in the middle of Act 2. Okay, so in the middle of Act 2, he was basically saying story was mid. For an emotional story, it's mid. When he said this, was at the later end, close towards the end of Act 1. Didn't make it. I hadn't made it to Act 1 yet, but I was like, well, I think the story is really good. And he was saying, and we kind of went back and forth, and he was saying, well, you don't really care about any of the characters that die. They kind of put them up in front of you, and then they just die anyways. And the game just kind of tells you things, and you go. And that was more or less his reasoning for it. You know, the crew dying. Gustav didn't really say anything important to Sophie before she got gamaged, and he was just like blah. He just thought mid. And I was like, well, I think the game has a lot of nuance, because when you start, you don't really know anything about the world. You don't know anything about Gustav or his relationships. You can tell he's kind of reserved, and he has his heart's in the right place. But to me, experiencing his ex-girlfriend, who he seemed to be on good terms with, seeing her be gamaged, and his reaction to it happening, and then right after they're kind of mourning, he's mourning with the crew. That black dude has the wine. I don't really remember his name. I think his name was Lucian or something. You kind of can piece together little bits and pieces of how the society works. Everyone's more or less warmed up to the idea that it's gonna happen. Some people accept it. They have celebrations. They sell flowers. It's a part of what they do. And I thought the little details was good. I thought it really gets you invested into the story in the beginning, right? And then if you know what happens, they leave for their expedition. As soon as they land, they meet the gray-haired guy, Raynor, whatever his name is, Raynor, and he basically wipes them easily, just off the map. And you see Gustav's life is saved by one of his expedition crewmates, and yeah, crew gets wiped out, and Gustav wakes up solo. I was saying that all the small details leading up to that moment mattered, because in the next scene, Gustav struggles with the reality of what happened, and he wants to bleep himself, more or less. He wants to send himself to the other side, and only doesn't do it because Lune stops him. Okay, I was saying all the little small details that kind of ramps you up to that moment are important, because it makes that moment just so important. You naturally feel for Gustav, having what limited information you have. And he was like, Yeah, that scene was kind of good, but it really isn't doing it for me. And he went actually to go on to compare an anime we both watch. We've both watched Haikyuu. I love Haikyuu. Anything about Haikyuu, it's a volleyball anime. I know, back of my hand. And he, this is where it kind of got off rails for me, because he was comparing character arcs. You know, character arcs develop over seasons. You know, they develop over seasons, and anime has the luxury of using flashbacks. And what anime will do is specifically Haikyuu. Haikyuu will flashback a scene and then add more onto the scene to give it context for what is happening now. It does that all the time. You like, in the current means of watching it, like something will happen in season 1, and then season 2 they will flashback to what happened and then add on about a minute or a minute and a half of extra dialogue to add some more details to what is happening in the current season. Games don't, I'm not gonna say they don't have that luxury, but games don't do that often. When games do flashbacks, it's normally to kick a game off. Like, you start off in a flashback. I think Final Fantasy 16 did that. You start off in a flashback, and then that's the tutorial, and then you just pick up where they want you the story to take place. Okay, so whatever. His thing was the game lacks nuance. It's too in your face, and the story's mid. I was saying the game has nuance. You probably just don't like the type of nuance the game is offering, and blah blah blah. All right. Fast forward. I cleared the end of Act 1. Rip Gustav, truly. And I started to kind of, so Gustav dies, and then enters Verso. And in the first like hour, I'm not gonna say, let me rephrase that. So it enters Verso, and Verso basically has all the questions the expeditioners Lune like has. Like, he's an open book, except for the part where he has that one secret, which is not really a big deal, but whatever. And I kind of understand more what my friend was saying. He was saying the game lacks nuance because you have a character like Verso who reveals the main antagonist's name. Verso has all this information about past expeditioners. The story is no longer unraveling in little small pieces. Verso kind of just gives you a lot of like important information whenever it's asked on the screen. And I mean, I kind of get what he was saying now, but I still don't think that, like, I don't think because Gustav died, it makes everything like moot. Like, I don't think because him dying, the crew dying, Sophie getting gamaged, all this other stuff, I don't think that takes away from the story. I think that's how you, like, Gustav's character, Gustav's arc, his morals are laced into the character's down. Like, his death has an effect on the story. It has an effect on the characters because of the small details that led up to him dying. You know, being able to play with him, all the times he used the arm at full charge. What does he say? And you get, like, that's one of the strongest attacks at virtually all points of the game. I hit 9999 so many times with that move early on, just right. And it does, because in my mind I thought the game was going to end with him. I was like, oh well, the game is giving you costumes for Gustav, you get a hairstyle, Mastery. Okay, there's like it never even crossed my mind that he would die. But I but because of the story that the developers want to tell, him dying, him not dying, it's a story to be experienced. You know, the emotions I feel while playing the game are still real. Yeah, I personally I would have liked if he didn't die. But his loss is the crew's loss, the earlier scenes, the beginning of the game, it all still matters to me. But again, I understand where my friend was coming from when you have a character that suddenly pops up with a shady past or a secret or two, who just happens to know everything about the world now. And yeah, I see what he was saying, but I still don't think the game lacks nuance. You know, I just don't think that's true. I don't think the game lacks nuance. So yeah, that's kind of where we are, where me and him are with that conversation. And it sucks that I think he I don't know. I don't know if he thought it was an argument. I don't know if he thought he was gonna convince me to say the story is mid. I think the story is still great. I think the story is greater now than what I thought it was before. Having played more of it, I'm playing on the hardest difficulty, so some fights are taking way longer than they have to sometimes, because I basically get one shot on most of my characters. But I'm still emotionally invested and I'm having a great time. I think Minoko is one of the is an amazing character to have on screen. I love the dialogue. I love what he does for the story so far. And yeah. But does anyone else think the game lacks nuance because you have this character now, Verso, who is basically a walking encyclopedia for the lore of the world? I don't think so, because Lune hints at a lot of like things she supposedly thought were true, but she had no proof until she got there. Like, she hints at gesturals being spoken about in legend and lore and myth and some other things. She brings up Etsuke way before you see him, not way before, but like slightly before you see him, through some type of, I don't know, like stories. It doesn't, it's not actually, at least not yet, it's not revealed where Lune got her, like, her inquisitive, you know, myths from. But her character her character does build the world out. You know, all the dialogue, in my opinion, is important because it builds the world out. You know, I think the small things add up, and the small things are nuanced, and it expands towards for a great story or a great experience. Obviously, emotional stories, sad stories are subjective. Like, if you don't resonate with any of the characters, or you feel some type of way about the cast being 3 females and a monster and a guy with hair, you may feel some type of way about that. Fine, I guess, but I think I love it. I like it. I'm really invested. I'm having a great time. But yeah, I just thought our conversation was, I don't know. I think the game has nuance. He thinks it doesn't have nuance. So him thinking that his enjoyment of the game is, well, the story. He didn't say the game, he said the story. I think he's locked in that the story is mid, and I think that's a shame because I've got misty-eyed a few times, you know, from the dialogue, and I think the characters are really well written, and I really just like the game. I'm having fun with it, and yeah, when I clear Act 2, I'll have a different opinion, I'm sure, and when I clear Act 3, I'll have a final opinion, and we'll go from there. So yeah, I just wanted to make that video. Just wanted to talk about my experience and how I feel about the game. And hopefully everyone else is enjoying it, did enjoy it, and we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. let me know. Like, am I wrong with this nuance thing, or am I don't think there's a right or wrong. Whatever. Let me know what anyone thinks, and we'll, yeah, see you next video. Peace.